I believe Edmonton International Airport is in the process of building the world's largest solar farm at an airport,
Yes.
which is expected to generate more than 20 times the energy the airport will need initially. Can you share some details about it?
So Edmonton Airport is starting this fall. We've done an assessment of the area where the solar farm will go. The size of the solar farm is 627 acres, 127 megawatts of power. To give you a perspective, the Edmonton Airport terminal only uses between 8 and 10 megawatts of power. So we're going to have a surplus of power that's available for our whole airport community that'll then provide clean energy solutions for everyone. So that surplus in power will be used on airports as part of our grid going forward. So construction on that solar farm will begin this fall.
You also plan to use the surplus to serve the community, right? Whatever surplus that may come.
So many of those factors are still being ironed out, but the surplus, that whole plan is still under works, how it will be served. But yes, the sufficient power can help support stakeholders on airport as well as off airport, probably on the main grid as well.
Is this one of the steps in sustainability initiatives that Edmonton Airport is taking?
It is. It's one of the largest steps. It's one of the most widely recognized steps. Edmonton Airport recently went under a brand change where we've renamed Airport City as our Airport City Sustainability Campus. We have several sustainable initiatives underway. So the solar farm is one. Our work in hydrogen is another. We do many different sustainable. We have a cogen facility on site as well. We have sustainable last mile technology with drones that we're using. So there's many different exciting, as well as some of our new construction. We're using green and eco-friendly sustainable methods and ways in which we're constructing new infrastructure. And we're going through our largest cargo infrastructure in our airport history. So there are sustainable means and methods being used in that construction as well.
What was the bit about the cargo infrastructure rehauling that you were talking about right now?
So we're undergoing an apron expansion in our cargo facility, in our south cargo facility. And so within the apron, during the construction period, the apron itself, as well as our cargo buildings that will be going in, are all built with sustainable means in mind, and in that sense. So.
And when will this be deployed, and when will it be completed?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we started in Canada. We can't operate construction all year round because we have to pause for our winter period. But our construction started again here in the spring. So the apron is expected to be completed by the fall. So we're still on target for where we hope to have the apron completed. And then shortly after that, we'll start our infrastructure construction just in behind the apron. But the apron itself will be fully completed by this fall.
If you could tell me about some numbers in terms of cargo, that the airport has handled in the last 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. So we've been very fortunate over the period of the pandemic. We've seen dramatic increase in our cargo volumes with reduction of belly capacity as well. So we've been very fortunate. We've actually been one of the busiest, or even the busiest cargo facility or airport in Canada when it comes to PPE flights. We've seen a dramatic increase of charter increase over the past 2 years of 100+%, and as well over the past year, we've seen a 5% increase again with that reduced belly capacity in our cargo volume. So
would you say e-commerce pushed these numbers as well?
Most definitely. We saw the largest uptick in our integrator volumes, and our e-commerce has definitely pushed that. As everyone started ordering everything from home, we saw our e-commerce demand skyrocket, and definitely that contributed to our numbers.
What trade lanes were these volumes coming in from, or you were serving?
Yeah, so these trade lanes were mainly from Asia coming in from China. The flights come in direct to Edmonton. And then from there, we act as an entry point for the U.S. to try and ship some of these products, but also some of them just coming into Edmonton. Edmonton is very much an inbound center where we have a lot of inbound products. The majority of our volume is coming into the city. And then, so we're seeing a lot.
Edmonton International Airport has been an active strategic member of the Pharma.aero since early 2019. EIA also strongly supports the role that Pharma.aero plays in the global pharmaceutical supply chain.
For sure.
So can you tell us a bit about your role there and what outcomes are you looking at achieving?
Yeah, for sure. So my role with Edmonton Airport, I started in Pharma.aero in 2019, as you mentioned. I started out as vice chair and moved in overseeing some of the project development. Recently, I was transitioned into the chairman role. With that, From the start, we saw the opportunity to join Pharma.aero. Edmonton Airport has supported a lot of the opportunities that Pharma.aero and a lot of the strategic advantages of joining the group. Pharma.aero is really the voice of the pharmaceutical industry for the air cargo side, end to end. So what they do is they provide a neutral platform, a neutral space for all customers, strategic airports, pharma shippers, as well as service providers to come in, share items where they either have gaps or challenges, but also things in which they do very well. Some of the key takeaways for Pharma.aero is publishing white papers and industry reports through different projects and different initiatives that we have done over the years, as well as looking into expanding our role into new areas in AI, as well as drone delivery. Sustainability is, of course, one of those key areas of focus and development for us. But really, we want to be able to provide a space that the pharmaceutical air cargo industry can rely on and come to when they want to bring their partners together and provide that opportunity to have those discussions in a neutral and open environment. We also cross-collaborate with IATA and TIACA as part of our industry support. And so from there, we come together and bring out existing projects that we build on, but also new projects that we see the industry requires.
So in terms of cold chain technologies, are you coming up with any new projects or best practices or anything on those lines? Because we saw that during the pandemic, the pharma supply chain was very resilient, right? And it served the world. So what's coming up in that domain?
So as far as cool chain, we have a lot of we've done lane developments where we take the temperature from one existing location all the way to the destination. So we also measure the lane validation between airports from Belgium to Miami was our most recent one that we provided a project on. From that, we developed a paper with best practices on how to maintain the cool chain in the lane development for that on the cool chain side. So what we do is we take existing routes that have some questions or some gaps that need to be filled. And then from the strategic airports, they work together to be able to work with the airline, come up with mitigations and outcomes that provide insight for our members so they can understand where the requirements are on the cool chain side.
Right.
Yeah.
COVID-19 has changed the way the supply chain works, right? Real-time information sharing, data and collaboration are now par for the course, especially to make supply chains more transparent and efficient. How do you think technology aided in this transition?
Well, definitely technology provided more of an insight for visibility. I mean, I think people always want to have more transparency in the supply chain, knowing where their products are. So that was par for the course. What has to happen, and we hear the term all the time, digitalization, using technology to understand how it can benefit the industry. Where I think that we're going to see the most amount of work is understanding the culture in which we need to adapt to that technology and that change. It's almost COVID forced us to understand how that technology will benefit our industry. I think understanding how we need to transfer to that digitization standpoint is something that other sectors has done very well. The air cargo sector through COVID came together and understood how we can transfer into that direction very well. And we're going to continue to see that. But I think there's still a lot of work ahead of us for us to fully engage and embrace the technology that's there.
What among the technologies, the newer technologies like blockchain or AI or automation, do you see that is being deployed, especially if you talk about the pharma sector?
Yeah, so I see AI and blockchain as solutions for that. I think some of the packaging technology that allows for temperature, minimizing temperature excursion and the disruption in supply chains, we saw some of the shippers take the packaging back internally themselves. So I see the packaging technology that's going to adapt to that. Obviously, some of the blockchain and some of the other IoT technology is going to help benefit from that. So our focus around some of that project work is understanding how we can play a role in educating and sharing what those benefits are going to be for our members, and then also identifying the gaps that still exist in the supply chain. Technology is not going to be the answer for all of this. The solution, providing that solution, understanding how it will benefit everyone in the supply chain, I think is really the role we'll play, that we're going to help educate people and their members to show how technology is the solution.
Just to understand Pharma.aero better, it started in 2016. How many members does it have and who are these stakeholders?
Yeah, so the original stakeholders, Brussels Airport, Changi Airport, as well as Montevideo Airport, were key roles. Our board now exists with Sharjah Airport, Edmonton Airport, of course. So the stakeholders there, plus the pharma shippers, so we have Pfizer, we have Zoetis, we have MSD. So initially, the need was created in Brussels understanding that there was a higher standard and a higher requirement needed. But the farmer shippers at that time saw the need for a platform or a group to exist to give them the ability to connect with the suppliers that they have. So the shippers and the strategic airports took the opportunity to start Pharma.aero and really create a platform and a neutral space for people to come together and provide those solutions. So from where they started and all the work that Brussels and Nathan has led for that group, over the years, we've seen it manifest into a larger understanding of the role, which by nature, we don't go out seeking new members. Some of the project and some of the engagement that we have done over the years has attracted different airlines, different full memberships, different strategic airports to see the need and identify that the solution Pharma.aero provides fits what they're looking for. So we've seen it grow exponentially here over the past start of COVID because of all the gaps in the supply chain that we were able to identify and share with our members and the benefits from those reports and white papers. People really identified and saw that and saw the value of joining Pharma.aero. So as members, we want to ensure we're giving trusted and valued information and good data, sharing good data, good reports to our members.
What are some shifts that you have observed in the pharmaceutical supply chain which played a very critical role during the pandemic? What are some changes that you believe are irrevocable post-pandemic in the pharmaceutical supply chain?
Some of those that I think people, what they're looking for is understanding that transparency and visibility is here to stay. There isn't something that's going to change or push that forward. I think understanding how we use this technology going forward and how we understand the role that plays and the importance that plays in visibility, in the end-to-end supply chain. There are changes here that are for the better, and I think the air cargo industry will adapt. It'll need to adapt to understand how other sectors have done that so well. So I think that the lessons learned is that the digitization of the information that's provided for products shipping from point A to B is something that people need to embrace and encourage that they're going to understand that it's here to stay and there isn't a lot that we're going to go back to. So companies that don't adapt to the technology and companies that don't move to a digital platform or still have a manual process in place, they won't be here to serve their customers for the longer term.
What are some of the innovations tested and used under the aegis of the Pharma.aero network to help in making pharmaceutical shipments safer, less expensive and more environment friendly in the past 2 years post the pandemic? What are some innovations and projects that we can look forward to in the coming years from Pharma.aero network?
So Pharma.aero has traditionally worked in the space where they understand point A to B, temperature excursions. That's important, understanding what the need is from point A to B, the temperature excursions, loading and unloading of an airplane. Some of the areas of focus that we're looking on and working towards is in the drone space for sustainable last mile, but also understanding how technology can provide a solution that helps both on remove unnecessary hurdles. So if we can move products from on airport all the way to final mile using drones, but also understanding our role in sustainability. So I think there's a large opportunity for us to partner, but also to look at how Pharma.aero can focus around how we can educate and capture for our members the role around sustainability that we're in place. So drone sustainability are two key areas, two new areas and projects where we're going to bring to the surface and help develop further.
Edmonton Airport is betting big on the role that hydrogen will play in our industry and as a clean alternative compared to what we have today. What role is your airport playing in this evolving space and what's the plan going forward? Is there any pilot projects or experiments going on with regards to this? Can you shed some light on this?
Yeah, for sure. So we're very fortunate in Alberta. Alberta is known for, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada is known for oil and gas. And that's fair. And oil and gas in the north, oil sands, are here to stay. What's good about hydrogen is Edmonton is also largely hydrogen. The largest opportunity exists in Canada, in the world for hydrogen, is situated in Edmonton. So the airport as itself as an economic driver sees itself participating in creating those on-airport ecosystems. We recently, a few weeks ago, hosted the hydrogen conference in Edmonton where we had over 4,000 delegates attend. And Edmonton is strongly becoming a hydrogen superpower in the future. We see the benefits for transferring from oil and gas to hydrogen solutions, but we're still far away from fully implementing those. We did sign 11 different MOUs at that conference with various companies in the transportation sector, whether that's trucking, the infrastructure around hydrogen fuel, hydrogen cell technology. So there's lots of points of interest around our ability to have and educate the public on the ability for us to promote hydrogen and clean technology. Now, when it comes down to actually implementing, Edmonton Airport can develop the solution, but also create infrastructure. So what we can do is create the demand on airport, build the infrastructure, serve the purpose, but then also broaden that perspective within the region and in international as well.
KLM and Edmonton Airport have signed an MOU to further their sustainability goals. What are some of the deliverables expected from this partnership?
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, we hosted KLM. They chose Edmonton as their international route for having their sustainability flights. So from Amsterdam to Edmonton, everywhere from the onboard service to the cargo aspects, every single part of the flight itself, the sustainable flight was taken under consideration, from the food served to sustainable packaging to sustainable fuel to sustainable modes of transportation when it landed in Edmonton. So we were very excited to have that partnership with KLM. We also wanted to ensure that we could provide that solution, so going forward that we know that you can operate sustainable flights. It is possible with some of these changes. So what we're able to do is bring in electric GSE for that flight, and then that equipment will stay and remain in Edmonton. So maintaining that flight as sustainable as possible going forward and ensuring that stays in place was something that was a large takeaway. From the cargo perspective, we worked with our cargo partners again to provide sustainable packaging, sustainable solutions for all of the freight coming off the aircraft going to final mile in Edmonton. So we're excited to partner with KLM on that.
Any idea on the frequency of these flights?
So the frequency of the KLM flights into Edmonton are 3 or 4 times a week. So
starting when?
So we've had that flight coming in 3 times a week. Now, the sustainable flight was one initiative to prove and understand how the flight can operate. So that was one time when it came in, but we're going to take the learnings from that flight and then going forward how we can make the other flights sustainable. So not every flight will operate in that mean going forward right now, but the solutions and the understanding that we took from that one initial sustainable flight will be taken forward for future considerations.
Finally, can you talk a bit about drones as a viable solution for last mile delivery for pharmaceutical supply chains? Because they have, we've seen examples of them delivering life-saving products directly to the end user. Do you foresee drone technology evolving at the rate that the world needs? Also, as a follow-on, we know that it is working well in parts of Africa, Japan and the US, and now even India, it's trying to use it. What's your take on this?
I do spend some of my work in the drone development. Edmonton Airport has actually been using drones on airport for 5 years. So we have thousands of drone flights, all safe and secure. We work with our partners Nav Canada and Transport Canada. So we are actually the first airport in the world, in Canada, to have commercial drone flights operating cohesively with commercial aircraft. So we actually have a drone route on airport that's in controlled airspace, operating sustainable off airport. So the drone development, the drone ecosystem on airport, the drone hub that exists in Edmonton, we see that we're a part of that development. Some of the regulatory pieces and the framework that Edmonton Airport has developed and has worked with Nav Canada on is now being used by the FAA and different other regulatory bodies. So we see ourselves as a leader in this space. Drones are here to stay. They're a means of sustainable last mile delivery. So drones themselves now are limited by weather and by certain capabilities. The regulatory piece will probably keep it from operating at its max capability to be more understood and I guess moving more as a viable, sustainable means. But we're in a crawl, walk, run phase right now. So we see drones here to stay. Drones are sustainable means of delivery. Drones are used for commercial. So the drone activity that we have is B2B right now. There's a lot of drone capability from B2C. So where we are right now is ensuring that drones can operate safely and secure with controlled aircraft, and then understanding what that next step is. So as we build out our drone program at Edmonton Airport, we're going to work with other partners in the region, Edmonton region, to understand how we can connect the drones further off airport and more direct to other customers. So we're excited to further expand our drone program as we invite more drone companies to come on airport and operate safely and securely.
Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah, no, thank you.